I think on the collegiate level, until they figure out that they're on a path of self-destruction. And we could go on and talk about, all the legalities about players unionizing, as well as the issue in one particular court case whether they can be school employees on the university collegiate level. And keep in mind, there are a lot of FCS Division II and Division III schools in the collegiate level that this is not an issue.
We hear all the news about transfer portals and NIL and all the things that are coming to the high school level, and we think we understand it, but I don't think anybody understands it any better than my next guest. I will introduce you to the Texas High School Coaches Association's legislative consultant, Dr. Curtis Cullwell, right after this.
Hi, listeners. This is Glenn West, the Assistant Executive Director of Texas High School Coaches Association. It's time to register for coaching school. This year's coaching school will be held in San Antonio, July 21st through the 23rd. And in addition to the 250 lecture hours that we offer, we'll be adding a second turf field that will allow soccer, baseball, and softball demos. Tennis, aquatic, and golf will be off-site for one day of exhibits as well. Basketball court will be moved from a half court to a full court. You're all not going to want to miss this. You can find information of coaching school and hotels and membership renewal on our website at THSCA.com.
Did you know that you can use podcasting to not only share the great news about your athletes and your programs, but as a fundraiser for your booster club? Yes, Lone Star Gridiron produced the 5th podcast in history and has been doing it nearly 20 years. We are expanding now to do shows outside of football. So whatever your sport, reach out to us at 713-269-4620, and we'll discuss how you can use this amazing tool to supercharge your program. And the best part, we do all the heavy lifting. Text your name and school to 713-269-4620. All right, everybody, join me in welcoming Dr. Curtis Cullwell to the show. Dr. Cullwell, how are you?
I'm doing well this morning, Chris, and you?
I'm doing wonderful. So first off, I have to say, in the intro, I mentioned that you are the THSCA legislative consultant. Can you tell us what that is?
I've been working with the Texas Coaches Association for over 10 years now. I started when I was a school superintendent for 23 years in Texas and in public education for 38. And when I left public education about 11 years ago, I went to work in Austin. I was a registered lobbyist for a while now. I just consult with the Coaches Association and other groups on legislative activities, bills that are up, and just keep them informed of the process.
Got it. And you mentioned your background in education. What roles did you play in schooling?
Well, when I started out, I was a coach. Started out teaching and coaching in Garland Independent School District, and from there I became an administrator. I was high school principal and an assistant superintendent in Lamarck ISD down on the coast. I was superintendent in East Texas at Pittsburgh ISD up in Northeast Texas. Later became deputy superintendent, then superintendent of Lubbock ISD. Spent the last 13 and a half years of my career as a superintendent in Garland Independent School District here in the Dallas area.
Nice. So you've got a lot of experience with Texas public school.
That's been my career.
Yes.
It was somewhat of the family business. My dad was a high school coach, head football coach in a number of places, and then later became a principal and was superintendent in the Corsicana Independent School District for 13 years. And so I grew up around the coaching industry and public education, and it's something I have cared deeply about and continue to do so.
Nice. And so how did your engagement with the Coaches Association, how did that begin?
Well, part of it, I think the genesis of part of it was I was on the UIL legislative committee for many years, which does the policies in the rules for all co-curricular, extracurricular activities under the UIL umbrella in the state of Texas. And so was involved in a number of issues, policy issues there in particular. I chaired the policy committee for many years, which was in charge of realignment, and worked with UIL staff going back to Bill Farney and actually Mr. Bailey before that, and then, of course, Charles Brodett and Jamie Harrison. So I had a relationship with them. And then I also began to work on some legislative issues and policy issues that were important to Texas high school coaches, both men and women coaches. And I had a good working relationship with D.W. Rutledge, but probably first and foremost was Joe Martin, who was the deputy director or assistant executive director of the High School Coaches Association. Joe and I go back all the way back to when I was superintendent in Garland. Joe won a state championship here in 1999 when I was superintendent, and had a very successful tenure here in Garland. Then later Allen and went to the Coaches Association. And I'd worked with DW in the capacity of just advisor in conversations. And when I left the active superintendency, DW asked me and Joe asked me to join the Coaches Association as a legislative consultant.
Excellent. And some of those early issues that you played a role in, if you could pull out some of those and some of the outcomes that we may not be aware of.
Well, I think that in the beginning was actively involved in some of the issues related to the private school membership within UIL. And there was a period of time when that was of significant legislative interest. My tenure with UIL and also working before I was an employee of the Coaches Association, we worked together, legislators, various groups, and at some point we arrived and many of the TAPS private schools were very happy where they were within the TAPS framework. And we had two schools that were affiliated with the Jesuits, Straight Jesuit Houston and Dallas Jesuit, fine institutions, all male schools, and they were having trouble scheduling, participating in TAPS because of a large number of male students they had. So we worked together from a legislative and policy standpoint, and also with schools and Coaches Association, UIL, and was involved deeply in that, where they were admitted to full participation in the UIL. And that has been in place for a number of years, and I think it has been a pretty smooth integration of the two Jesuits in UIL.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is a clear success story for sure. It's worked out really well. So, and one other, Chris, particularly had to do with the centralization of high school championship games. Was on the UIL committee along with the Coaches Association, and we'd moved into having trying to work at having central sites for
for the state championship football games. We already had central reoccurring traditional sites at for the boys and girls state basketball championships, baseball and softball, track, and able to work on that issue of a central site for all of the classifications for football. And, the UI on the Coaches Association were, of course, the primary movers in that. I was able to be a part of that in a small way, and that I think that's worked out very well.
Nice. And what would you say right now are the biggest issues that public schools face? And then we'll dig into those a little bit, each by themselves. But what do you think are the biggest issues we're dealing with?
Well, in overall issues, not just related to extracurricular activities, I think, of course, is issues with finance. That is a issue that is not new, and there are always periods of crisis in school finance when legislative action does not take place. And legislative action for a number of reasons for boosting state aid for Texas public schools, traditional and charter schools, in this last legislative session when there was a record surplus, $32 billion, and record inflation over a period of time. Schools coming out of COVID, dealing with inflation, inflationary pressures, all of those things were left on the table. Now, there was significant compression in property taxes and tax relief that was certainly a positive thing for Texas taxpayers, and that was a positive piece of legislative action. And it affected schools, but in a non-negative way. But the lack of additional funding when so much money was available was disappointing. And schools are facing some significant financial issues. Enrollments have either leveled off, in some instances have declined, and that's the main source of dollars. Attendance rates are down because you don't have any meaningful truancy laws anymore. So all that has culminated in some impending and current financial challenges for a number of public schools.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna do my best to take advantage of you being a consultant and get some free consultation here. So as a parent, as a coach, as a grandparent, what are some things we can do to help address those issues?
Well, I think that first and foremost is making sure that you participate in the legislative and electoral process. Mm-hmm. The way Texas is structured, and being primarily a one-party state in certain sections of the state, the March primaries determine who your representatives are going to be, and the November election many times do not. And voting, being registered to vote, making sure that you vet and know where your candidates stand on funding public schools and public education and supporting the 5 million students, 5.2 million in traditional public schools and charter schools, and supporting the mission of the public schools to be free, to be open to all students, to not be affiliated with certain viewpoints of whether it's sectarian viewpoints, religious viewpoints, but to have free, independent public schools that are reflective of local community governance, and that's huge. And to be able to support those schools through fair and transparent fiscal oversight of locally elected school trustees.
And then now let's shift gears to athletics itself, because there are some elephants in the room when it comes to things that could change drastically with public school athletics. And which items do you think are the most important there?
That's a long conversation, Chris, but let me try to keep it at a high level. First of all, athletics in any institution at any level, high school, is impacted by the trickle down of what's happening in college athletics.
Right.
The trickle down of the transfer portal, the NIL agreements, the professionalization of college athletics, the gradual weakening of the NCAA, the legislative involvement in rules and procedures, and the whole structure of collegiate athletics is filtering down to high school. And you have to have a line of demarcation, of course, between college and high school athletics, but many of the structures are similar. And within the NCAA and the college structure, there's, of course, become two different distinct levels, and that's your Power 5 institutions, approximately 80 institutions that have very, very large athletic budgets, spend a tremendous amount of money on their athletic program, and generate a lot of revenue. And then you have everybody else. That schism of institutional strength per the athletic programs and revenue, and of course television and all of that, is going to evolve probably to a further separation of college athletics, particularly on the football and basketball side. And some of that, and also the transfer portal, really has an impact on traditional high school athletics, where they have been community sports teams, community activities. Some communities have multiple high schools. Some communities have singular high schools and middle schools and school districts. And those school activities have been students and from that community, and the parents from that community by specific boundaries, and that there's a lot of interest in having a complete and free, open transfer system that has no restrictions. And what you do, if you do that on the high school level, and some states have experimented with it, and you end up with all-star teams and not community-based teams. And there's room for all-star teams if you want to do that in some sports. AAU basketball and other AAU activities have a long history of that. But trying to protect traditional community schools and community sport athletic activities is going to be more difficult to do. And what happens is you see it in the collegiate level, a complete turnover in roster, and you're going to see, if that happens in high school where you have a quasi-transfer portal, you're going to see, again, an erosion of community support for teams because it's just based on bringing in players from other places for short-term success.
Definitely. And so, you talk about the trickle down of things like the NIL, like the transfer portal, and how high schools around the country are already moving that way. Do you think there's a chance to put that genie back in the bottle, or is it more, look, we've got to figure out a way to manage it?
Well, that's a really good question, Chris. NIL is already in about 30 states is available for high school students. There's such a distinct difference between what's going on in that level and from the collegiate level. Let me say this, from the collegiate level, it's too late, and we need to learn from how they have just unadulterated screwed that whole process up. Because you have NIL where an athlete can, benefit and profit from their name, image, and likeness, and then you have the collectives, which are just, you got a payroll to meet, to steal a line from the old scandals that hit some of the Southwest Conference schools, which now is legal, and that is collectives are, you collect, $50 million, $40 million, $30 million a year, and you pay everybody money and to participate in the activities. And you've seen all the headlines where many of the Power 5 schools, they're looking for a quarterback, and they say, well, we're going to have to pay him $1 million. And that I don't think will impact schools, high schools, because the value now on some of the on some of the all-star teams, you already see that in terms of the corruption in some of the shoe deals and sponsorship deals that so many times go to street agents or other type of representation, and sometimes it goes to parents and the athlete themselves. So no, I think on the collegiate level, until they figure out that they're on a path of self-destruction, and we could go on and talk about all the legalities about players unionizing, as well as the issue in one particular court case whether they can be school employees on the university collegiate level. And keep in mind, there are a lot of FCS Division II and Division III schools in the collegiate level that this is not an issue. But so I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle at that level, but you can be protective of what you do on the high school level in terms of transfers and also in terms of some of the more distasteful pieces of NIL that we've seen already evolve on the collegiate level.
Yeah, it would seem to me like Texas would set themselves up to have to rewrite all the tax codes because, the taxes are tied to property. And, if suddenly you're having all these kids that don't live anywhere near you that you're paying for, what does that do with taxes? That just seems like it's a can of worms that could get out of hand. Well,
that is a whole completely different issue. And I don't know if that would have an impact on that, significant impact, Chris, but it does, again, the concept of community schools in Texas and many states that are like Texas is so important because it's the hub of the community, and we've seen that in some of the voucher legislative issues where many of your what we call single high school, single community school districts, that the school district is the true backbone, largest employer in the community. People really enjoy being able to have their youngsters participate in all types of fine art activities and athletic and co-curricular activities, and enjoy the community identity that brings. And money is not necessarily evil, but the love of money can be a problem. And there's some unscrupulous people out there that would like to change the whole structure, and there are scrupulous people that want to change the whole structure. So that's going to continue to be something that we all have our attention focused on.
Right, and for people who like me are wanting to preserve the way things have been, preserve the community schools, is there a game plan? And because you're going to run up against people who say, well, you've got to give this kid the right to go wherever he wants to go and make his best deal. But what's the game plan to protect community-based schools?
Well, I think one is I think that you have to look at the needs of community-based schools beyond just extracurricular activities, but make sure you continue to fund them at a level that they can provide quality educational opportunities, pay teachers, and continue to have a high-performing educational system within the schools. And then people will want to come there. We live in a mobile society. Family structures are a little less stable. And people move around, and school districts have a lot of open transfer policies. But the key to that is when you can't transfer for athletic purposes.
Right.
And there is an appeal process. There's an approval process for that. And I think that is crucially important in our state. And it's not perfect. Sometimes people can manipulate the system, and sometimes people that maybe have had different circumstances may be penalized by the system. But you can move for athletic. You can move for any reason. You may be ineligible for varsity sports for 1 year. And, within large districts where you have transfer policies, most of those have policies where they have, of course, a district executive committee that approves transfers. But that is really important. There was legislative in the past Texas legislative session that called for allowing people to transfer one time for any reason they want to. Mm-hmm. And, again, that erodes the concept of community schools and the concept of not having all-star teams. And, we understand that quality educational systems are going to attract families that have young people, that have students. And sometimes quality educational systems also might have quality extracurricular activities, and people attract them to go there. But that can't be the sole reason. And if you do it during high school, your senior year, you decide that I'm going to go to X school because they're very successful, and you rent an apartment and you move in there. That's moving for athletic purposes or other purposes, and that's what we try, and that's part of the regulations we continue to try to enforce. And I would hate to see that, and I think many of our legislators understand that, and they don't want to turn high school athletics into a mini NCAA with a transfer portal that at the end of the day is going to have probably, in my opinion, significant impact on university allegiance to athletic teams and other activities, because it's hard to support a new team every year and then that you're paying, and you have to, as an alumni, continue to pony up significant amounts of money to a group of athletes you don't know have any affiliation with, and they're going to ask you for the same thing every year. And we don't want a pay-to-play system in Texas high school athletics or extracurricular activities. We want to open the policy of schools being able to provide those opportunities for all students that live within their school district or move into their school district at the appropriate time or transfer through the appropriate processes. And you don't have to be people with means. You don't have to be people with resources, and you don't have to be people with your hand out. And that's what we want to see and maintain.
Right. Well, I'm going to give you a chance to brag on the THSCA. You're at the point in your career where you could tell a prospective client, no, I don't want to deal with that. But you've chosen to work with the THSCA. You've chosen to do it for years now. Tell me why. And it probably, I'm assuming, is much more than your connection with Joe.
I've seen it as an individual, as the son of a coach of a high school, then a high school and collegiate athlete. The impact that women and men coaches have on young people, and particularly in middle schools and high schools, that impact is not just in the locker rooms, but the classrooms and the community and the state, and the molding of character and discipline for so many of those young people, and also the importance of having quality men and women in coaching and teaching positions. Texas is unique in that, requiring their coaches to be teachers, and they just have such a positive impact on the school environment. And I believe strongly that the teaching profession is first, and the coaching profession is a subset of the teaching profession. And I don't think that there's any greater calling out there, with the exception possibly of the ministry and some of the other services, first responder and military services. You put it on that level, and that's why I work with them, because I believe in what they do, and I believe that it's worthwhile to support, and worthwhile to maintain, and worthwhile to grow.
Excellent. And finally, it seems like you spend a lot of your time trying to stop negative attacks on the way things are done. But are there some positive things that you're involved with in incorporating or ensuring things stay good?
I think one of the key things that we're able to do, and it's a combination of what your local public school districts do, and then associations like the Coaches Association. It's an avenue to be able to show the community and people. A large portion of the taxpayers in our state are over 65. They don't have any children in public schools, and public schools are different from when those individuals were in schools. They look different. The degree of diversity, the degree of how cultural customs and things have changed to some degree, but to be able to expose the greater community to high quality young people on a daily or a weekly basis, of young people that are talented, young people that are dedicated, young people that work hard. And if you do that, and if you look at that within your schools and within your extracurricular activities, then you're going to really feel good about where your future and where the country is headed, where your local community is headed. You can get distracted, and you can get, we live in a very divisive world right now, but you can rally and unify around most of the kids and their activities. And it's a good feeling, and it can restore a lot of confidence and what's going on in your community, your state, and your country when you're around kids that are dedicated and involved in extracurricular activities.
I love that. And Dr. Curtis Cullwell, gosh, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me and for fighting the good fight. I appreciate all of it. Well,
Chris, I tell you what, I get the opportunity to talk to people like yourself that dedicate your time and your efforts and profession to something worthwhile, such as extracurricular activities in our public schools, and I appreciate you. And it's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to participate in a small way, because what I do is in a small way, but I love it, and I appreciate you allowing me to talk today.
The interviews in this show are brought to you by the Texas High School Coaches Association. THSCA provides to its more than 26,000 members access to the people, events, tools, and resources to help them thrive in the profession, become trusted leaders in their communities, and live balanced and successful lives. The work and sacrifice coaches do every day is vital to the development and success of student athletes. The THSCA supports these efforts. We fight for every coach, provide them with the connections and resources to improve their lives, and help all student athletes throughout the state enjoy lasting success. The mission statement is simply this: to help and serve Texas high school coaches as they work to help and serve student athletes. Helping coaches help kids. For more information on the THSCA, visit www.thsca.com. Hey, of course, I want to thank our guest, but I also want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me what I consider the most valuable thing you can give, your time and your attention. And I know you don't do it to hear me. You hear it for the great messages provided by the THSCA. And hey, if you'd like to associate your company with the THSCA and the Coach's Call podcast, limited sponsorship opportunities are available. You can reach out to me, Chris Daly, 713-269-4620, or head over to my website, freshmediaworks.com. Once again, thank you so much for supporting Texas high school coaches. Please share this show out to everybody you can so that we can help share these important messages. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time on The Coach's Call.